growing up, I didn't really have a ton of video games. I had an old PC running Windows 98 and a couple of games that I grew up on. But one of those games was the 1997 racing game Need for Speed 2. And it wasn't until later that I realized the absolute insanity of this game's soundtrack. Check this out. Oh man, as a kid, I thought this scene was the coolest thing as an opening. And I love how the engines are not even remotely close to what these two cars are. Oh man, 90s video games, especially for PC. This was definitely where my absolute obsession and love of cars was born. And clearly what has led to questionable financial decisions. But I mean, even just the menu. Listen to this. A flat minor to E major 7. Yes! And it just keeps building and building. I used to sit here going through tracks, going through cars, changing car colors, just looking at stuff on this main screen. Just... And you might think that it just sits here and doesn't really go anywhere, except for the fact that it does this. Just going up a half step. Now going somewhere else. Down a minor third. What? So wait. We've started here. And we've just let that build forever. And then we go. And then we go down here. And then we go up here. Anywhere else? There it is, back to that A flat. Oh man, we used to sit here just for hours and hours just going through menu options and typing in cheat codes and all that stuff. This game was absolutely ridiculous. I did not have the special edition version. I had the original Need for Speed 2, and you could drive a T-Rex. Yeah, they had this like cheat code. You could basically drive any object in the game. There was an outhouse. We used to think that was the funniest thing ever. You could drive an outhouse around the track. But there was one track in particular, and one song on one track actually, that I just, later on after rediscovering the soundtrack, I cannot get enough of it. And it's the background music for the track Proving Grounds, where I just always got a McLaren F1, typed in the Pioneer cheat, which made all the cars ridiculously fast for absolutely no reason, and I would just cruise around this oval circuit at about 220 miles an hour, listening to this. That groove is insane. Just the slight swung eighth note, da, ga-da, ga-da. The way that it spaces that out creates this incredible momentum, right? And it helps that quarter note just pound that much deeper in. It's amazing. Oh, it's so good. Oh man, right at the beginning of the race. This is one of the hardest grooves of all racing video games ever, let alone probably games of the 90s in general. This is nuts! What even key is this in? I've never once thought about the harmony of this, because it's not even the focus really of this whole thing. And I never, as a kid, never once thought about lyrics at all. I understood that there was a vocal there. I understood somebody was singing, but never gave a second thought to what they might be singing about. Oh, it's so trippy. What? What? Oh my God, this is just the rhythm on the guitar there. This breakdown, like, because it goes into this section that's totally unexpected. I mean, we've been establishing this kind of whatever that was in the beginning with the vocals and everything, and you are not expecting this section to just drop out of nowhere. Oh, this was the coolest feeling in the world. When you were driving around this circuit, and you can see it's kind of like a kidney bean sort of shape, and there's a couple corners that you could not take at 230 miles an hour. You just like smash into the wall and ride the whole wall around.
Take a look at what he did! I have never seen anything like.
But there was a section specifically where if you got it right, it would always somehow work out to be this part of the actual song. And you felt like the coolest kid on the planet, cruising around in a McLaren F1 at 230 miles an hour with this section blaring. Yes! You gotta understand something too, like growing up without a ton of video games, like I never had a video game console, like this is all I really had. It just wasn't a huge thing growing up for me. I grew up on a farm, like it's just the video game thing I never really got. So that's one of the reasons why now I'm so obsessed with the absolutely incredible music that comes out of the history of so many video games, because it's something that I just didn't really have as a kid, but this is the exception to that. This I had as a kid, and wow, oh my God. I mean, just the memories, the feelings that come flooding back. Some of the stuff that I discover when we talk about video game music on this channel, I mean, is that what it's like for you guys who actually have history with these games? Because, man, this is just so much fun. Oh, those effects are so cool. Oh, it's so neat. So this whole thing, I don't even know how I would really describe it. It's loosely like in C of some kind. Is it like a C minor 7 sound? Like we clearly have this like... I don't even know. I think the whole thing generally is sort of in like a C Dorian, right? So we have... all those notes would work in that section. If we go and listen to any of this. Yeah, those notes all work in there. So this whole thing is probably pretty much in like a C Dorian kind of mode. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, those 4 notes. The rest of it is C minor. So when we play the minor 3rd, the 9th, the minor 7th, and the major naturally occurring 6th, that does... It's C Dorian, 100%. And you would think that that's it, right? You would think, oh, well, that must be the cool parts of this song. It's not over! Now we're hammering in on that tritone. Oh, man. The whole thing is just settled in on this insanely in-the-pocket groove. It's unbelievable. Unreal. Oh, the rhythm. Woo! And you think this is gonna be it. You think there must be nowhere else we can go, right? Wrong! E minor, but before we go somewhere else, we gotta get a little taste of C sharp minor. Drop it a minor third. Why not? To wrap the whole thing up, we get one more taste of C sharp minor, back to E, E minor, and then, whew. And if you remember, at the beginning, we were in E. So we have gone all the way around and we end up right back where we started. And when it ends, it can just start right back over again. So if you're in the middle of a race and the track ends, that's cool. We just go back to the beginning and the whole thing starts over. Now, video game music, as we know, is designed to be looped and designed also to be listened for extended periods of time, which this would be absolutely no problem at all. But this is maybe an exception to the kind of maybe, I don't know, more modern like looping where it's probably done in a slightly more integrated way versus like a track coming to full stop and then starting over again. But even though it starts over again, the composers of this track, Jeff Dyke and Saki Kaskas, I hope I'm pronouncing both of those names correctly, they just built it in a way where it finds its way back kind of to where it started so that once it ends, it can just restart. This is one of those examples where, you know, we take apart a lot of things from a harmonic perspective, and that's always cool, but like sometimes the harmony doesn't really need to be that complicated. We get some really cool things in here. We get some minor third stuff, and we get some different sections that evolve and go different places, and that's all great, but the groove is what makes this so insane. Also, can anybody tell me what on earth the actual like picture, the icon for the track is? Because growing up, I thought it was a dude in a really squashed, wide cowboy hat. Or is that a guy with horns? Like, cause, I don't know, Norway? I don't actually know, but it looks like a dude in a really, like, lots of shoulders and a cowboy hat. That's what I always saw when I was growing up. This game had all sorts of other things besides just the racing. It had a showcase with like videos of all of the cars, these crazy cool music videos. And some of them just had the coolest music. Like, check this out. Oh, it's so dramatic, and look at that thing. Oh, it's so cool. That looks modern today. Yes. Oh, it's so 90s. That tritone in there, I was always like, whoa, that sounds cool. And then it goes up to a 5. That's what this whole thing was like, loaded with these short music videos of all the cars in the game. And so you got to see them in real life because obviously the videos were shot of the real life cars, and many of these were concept cars. So to see them in that context was just so cool because they're not cars that were actually made. A lot of them are, of course, but like the Ford GT90. Oh, this was so cool. The original GT40. Woo! That reveal, the way that the music just drops. This is still one of the coolest concept cars ever made. Oh man, this is how I got the idea that the McLaren F1 sounded like this. And not actually like this. Which, fun fact, the McLaren F1 has a V12 engine, which a V12 engine makes a perfect fifth, but like an octave apart, right? We're gonna have to do a video about this at some point because I am absolutely obsessed with this idea of the sounds that engines make. And I have a whole thing of like, I've musically analyzed every different engine configuration that exist. I can tell you the musical interval and I can listen to an engine from far away and probably tell you how many cylinders it has, because you can describe all these things in musical terms. It's a whole thing. I'll make a video about it at some point, but I'm nuts about this topic because it is so much fun. This is the game I grew up on, and it's just so much fun to go back and listen to some of the stuff. And we only talked about one track. There were a whole bunch of tracks, and each one of them had their own environment, had their own musical background to them, and they were all incredible. But I want to know what game that was for you. What was the one game that you grew up on that you were just obsessed with and played all of the time? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one.